It's time for an inside look at the most powerful motorsport on the planet. WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
What's up, NHRA fans? Welcome back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro. We are 2 weeks out from the 60th Lucas Oil Winter Nationals, and WFO Radio is ramping up. We have got Aron Reinhart just minutes away. We're going to talk about the changes to the countdown. It is all happening. Got a big week for you. It is also Super Bowl week here in South Florida, home of WFO Radio. In fact, our studio about 10 minutes north of Hard Rock Stadium, where the game will be played. And I would imagine if there's going to be a flyover, they're going to be going right over my house. It's going to be incredible. I'm super excited because that is the end of football season and the start of NHRA drag racing season. We've got all kinds of good stuff going to happen this week. Ron Capps going to be on the show because he's going to be on the sideline for the Super Bowl, rooting for his Niners, holding the microphone, which is going to be kind of cool. I know Mark Robillis is going to be down there shooting it, which is going to be kind of cool. Plus, Chad Head going to be on the show. Chad Head from Coletta Motorsports going to talk about testing in Vegas and not Phoenix and why and what the story is. So you're going to want to subscribe to hear Chad Head. J.R. Todd also going to be on the show. Later on in the week, J.R. from testing. That's at least the plan. Vic Penrod, the final Lucas Oil World Champ from 2019, Superstock World Champ, will be on this week's WFO Radio interviews. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, our own WFO Radio mobile application is great. And now, Patreons, patreon.com/WFO Radio, get all the interviews, early release, and other added benefits. The people who make this show possible are our great sponsors. I like to list them. The day you need them, please use them because they covet your attention. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, the Dragster Adventure, 866-480-7223. Driving a dragster, you and your friends, doing it for fun, buying it as a gift for someone you like, you want them to understand drag racing or have a great experience. The Dragster Adventure goes all around the country. You should definitely do it. Samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology, 713-683-3817. Start your education at full speed. Machinist, EFI, CNC machining. They've got a great program and they can get you placed. Total Seal, the leader in ring seal technology. TotalSeal.com or call them. Keith is like waiting to talk to you. 800-874-2753. If you're a high-performance engine builder, this should be a no-brainer. If you're an engine builder at all, this should be a no-brainer. You're going to spend all kinds of money on the best parts that you can get, but then not spend money on the best ring you can get. TotalSeal.com, the leader. MagicDryUS.com, the official organic absorbent of the NHRA. Magic Dry back on board one more time, and really appreciate them. It works better, it's lighter, it's made out of something, a natural resource, coconut. Why would you not? Plus, they support drag racing, MagicDryUS.com. And if you have a friend with a shop, get it for them as a gift to put them on to Magic Dry. Maybe they don't know about it. And Rodak's Coffee and Grills.com. Marvin Rodak. Coffee and hot sauce and spice rubs and tools for grilling and grills down there in Fort Worth, Texas. Everything amazing, gourmet level. I start every day with Rodak's Coffee, and I think it's working pretty well for me. I love it. I enjoy it. It's great. 817-924-6821. That's Rodak's Coffee and Grills.com. One more thing. The new WFO Radio logo, the stickers. If you want some, I will send you some for free, but you got to do the busy work and pay the postage. Castello Media /WFO stickers, P.O. Box 848-353, Pembroke Pines, Florida 33084. You send an envelope and an envelope, self-addressed stamped envelope with postage. A stamp, 4 stickers, simple. Let's just do it that way. And I'll send it back, and you get some WFO Radio stickers. All right, I know what everybody wants to talk about. I'm going to read the story that changes to the countdown to the championship, and then we'll bring on Aron Reinhart. In 2020, competitors in the NHRA Mellow Yellow Drag Racing Series may earn their way into the countdown to the championship, NHRA's version of the playoffs, by one of two ways. The NHRA Mellow Yellow Drag Racing Series Countdown to the Championship will see some new elements this year. Competitors in the Premier Series may earn their way into the Countdown to the Championship, NHRA's version of the playoffs, in one of two ways. It's at the top of the little piece of artwork, and then it's like right below it. As in previous years, the top 10 drivers in each of NHRA Mellow Yellow Drag Racing Series categories at the conclusion of the NHRA U.S. Nationals will earn positions in the countdown to the championship. Top 10 still in. New for 2020, drivers in the Mellow Yellow Drag Racing Series who meet a minimum set of requirements will also earn their place in the playoffs. Drivers 6'5" and taller will make the playoffs. Drivers 5 foot and shorter will make the playoffs. Neither of those are true. I'm just keeping your attention, making sure you're paying attention. Back to the story. In NHRA's Top Fuel and Funny Car classes, collectively referred to as Nitro, drivers who compete at all 18 events in the regular season and run a minimum of 2 qualifying sessions at each event will also earn their way into the playoffs. Show up at all the races, bring the car to the starting line, and compete in a minimum of 2 qualifying sessions, you're in the playoffs. By way of example, if this rule had been in effect in 2019, 12 drivers in Top Fuel and 12 drivers in Funny Car would have been part of the countdown. In Pro Stock and Pro Stock Motorcycle, drivers who compete at all 13 or 11 events respectively in the regular season and run a minimum of 2 qualifying sessions at each event will get to compete for the countdown in the final 5 events. Because remember, there's only 5 countdown events in PSM and Pro Stock. Those who secure a position in the countdown to the championship will have their NHRA Mellow Yellow points adjusted at the conclusion of the NHRA U.S. Nationals. In the Nitro categories, first and second place, now this is new information, so pay attention. First and second place will be separated by 20 points, and each consecutive position will be separated by 10-point differential. So what they're doing is they're giving first and second, they're giving it a little bit of a kick, which I'm okay with. Each consecutive position will be separated by a 10-point differential, half a round, or a third of the round if we're talking about the finals. In Pro Stock and Pro Stock Motorcycle, first and second place will be separated by 20 points, while second through fifth place will be separated by 10 points, and all following position will be separated by 5 points. Obviously an experiment. Accumulation of points will remain the same, with points and a half awarded at the Auto Club Finals. The top 10 drivers at the conclusion of the countdown to the championship will be recognized at NHRA's award banquet. NHRA officials made this change in order to better reward driver endurance and encourage participation in regular season events. Now, I just recorded something for the Patreons about participation trophies. I will give you guys a version of that in this feed. But I want to get into this. And so joining us now, he is the voice of the NHRA. We'll be calling the 60th annual Lucas Oil Winter Nationals. And I know he hates the winter break. So guess what, Alan? It's almost over. Alan Reinhart joins us now. What's up?
You're not kidding, almost over, because I'm going to Vegas for testing this weekend.
Vegas, baby.
And at that point, it is over.
Wow.
At least for me.
Now, there's been a lot of discussion about, Vegas versus Phoenix, and we're going to have Chad Head on this week to talk about, the decisions and how they got made. But I agree. I've been getting texts, and people who never reach out to me are reaching out to me, and I think it's like everyone has just got too much energy, like bottled up, right? Nothing to do. So let's text Costello because he's got nothing to do either. All these drag racers, media people, everybody that's like ready to go, this is probably going to be the toughest week. Finally get out there.
Well, didn't you say last week when we were signing off that, as soon as we hang up the phone, news will start breaking because we're getting down to the minute? And
yes.
Darned if it didn't. You talk about the sponsor lineup for the Forces that came out and the new countdown stuff that came out and just on and on and on. So, all the new Pro Stock drivers that are coming out, I'm ready. Let's go racing. I
am ready. Yes, the John Force Monster Energy back. Flavor Pack is on board with John Force. I think Monster being back with Brittany, that's great. I don't want to say you never see that. It happens. But when a sponsor comes back, that means something positive. When they leave forever and stay gone, that is negative. Plus, Joe Barlam going to John Force Racing, just kind of hitting everybody with the headlines. But let's talk countdown, Alan. The news, I just shared it with the audience. I read the release from NHRA.com. Now, if you show up at all the races and you make a minimum of 2 qualifying sessions, you are going to make the countdown. I haven't really shared my opinion necessarily. I kind of wanted to talk it out with you. I do have an opinion. I've spent the weekend thinking about my opinion. But let's just dive into the fact of the matter here. This was a change that they made to encourage more cars to go to all the races.
And that's certainly, that's certainly one of the things that I think is a plus. The one thing that I got out of it that I really think is a solid plus, and one of the reasons that one of the things that I kind of had a problem with the countdown is finishing in the top 10. I think it's a big deal, and most of the sponsor contracts and most of the stuff have some kind of an incentive. If you finish in the top 10, obviously, if you win the championship or whatever. And it's always bugged me a little bit that as of Indy, if you weren't in the top 10, you had no chance of finishing in the top 10. And I like the fact now that, a Terry McMillan, just to pluck a name out of the hat, didn't make the countdown to the championship this year, but we know he's got a pretty good race car. He, struggled a little bit, obviously, during the first 18 races. But he had no chance of a top 10 finish. Whereas now, if he runs solid in the last few races, he still has a chance for a top 10 finish, a chance to stand on the stage. In Pro Stock this year, I think there was a perfect example of that was, Val Smeland made his way into the top 10, and good for him. He did exactly what he needed to do. He did exactly what the rules said. But then going through the countdown, when you look at the fact that we had a Pro Stock driver make 2 final round appearances in those last 6 races, and wasn't able to crack his way into the top 10 simply because he finished 11th after Indy. And in this new format, there now will be an opportunity for a top 10 finish for somebody that's not in the top 10. And that part of it I certainly like.
Talking about Fernando Quadra, and I agree. And just so everybody understands, like let's say it's the 12 drivers that have 10 12 drivers make the countdown. However they make it, they will be seated in that descending order of points that we just talked about. And if 12th goes to 2 final rounds, he can climb as high as he climbs and ends up in the top 10. And then whoever is in the top 10, they're the ones that get to the banquet. And so there's something to race for. That top 10 means something, and if you finish 11th, you don't get excluded from the countdown, but you definitely don't get to go to the awards banquet and be recognized there.
I also think that, on the other side of that, there have been a couple of people that said, oh, well, it's the Billy Torrance rule. They don't want somebody doing what Billy did last year. What Billy did last year would not be affected at all.
Right. That can still happen.
You can go out there. Yeah. If you can go out there, run 10 races, run 12 races, whatever, and you run well enough and you accumulate enough points in the first 18, then it's not going to change you at all. But for those who are out there each and every week, it'll still get them a chance at a top 10 finish. And, the other part of the extreme ridiculousness, people that are posted, oh, well, you can just go idle down the track 18 times a year and then still win the championship. It's like, come on, man. There's nobody that's going to finish 11th, 12th, 13th, wherever in the points after Indy is going to come back and win the championship. Is it mathematically possible? Sure. It's also possible that the 4-16 seeds can all end up in the Final Four when we get into March Madness.
Right.
It ain't going to happen.
No. Not going to happen.
So, nobody's going to go out there, idle down the track all year long, and then to make a championship run in the last 6 races. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Well, and if they did,
nobody's going to go down and idle down the track all year long just so they can say I was a countdown car. But I'm very curious. I think Scott Palmer's a good example here. Okay, had Scott Palmer been in the countdown, would he have continued to race at the end, knowing that he still has a shot at a top 10 finish? And if you remember, when he finished top 10, that was a really big deal for his team. But this past year, once he was locked out of the top 10 because of the countdown rules, he basically, packed up camp. I mean, he came out and showed up at a couple of races, but he had no incentive to run the rest of the season when a top 10 finish was out of reach. And so that part of it I definitely like.
Right. And to your point a moment ago about the person, like we can create all kinds of scenarios of negative things happening, but let someone do that. Let them try to do that and see the reaction they get from people, from fans on TV in our coverage. It will not be worth it. It would not be worth it to do that. And they would be ridiculed. And it's not a good policy, and nobody's got the money to do that. And even if they did that, by the time they get to the countdown, they won't know how to race. The whole season is learning how to race situationally. And then you use that knowledge in the countdown. If you're just idling down the track, you will not have any situational knowledge to use in the countdown and thus not have a chance to win the championship. Now, it has been labeled by some as a participation trophy. And it is definitely a participation incentive. Definitely. You don't want to call it a trophy necessarily, or maybe it is. But I think our modern outrage society, participation trophies, they're terrible. And everybody, and I know a lot of people talk about how the participation trophy is the horrible thing. But it came about in Little League sports for a reason. People want the parents to pay the money to come play. And they want to give them incentive to get their kids out there. And so, you know what, kid? You didn't win, but you came and you helped us fill our league and you played and you learned and all that. Take this little plastic trophy. It's not as big as the real one. I don't think and can make a really strong argument that it's not the worst thing in the world. And I think the marketplace of ideas out there is showing that that's what people want. If Amalie wants to pay for Terry McMillan to go to all these races and put on a show, I think it is good to incentivize them.
Well, I'm not a big fan of the participation trophy, but as I said, I like the fact that because of the way it stands now, a driver that doesn't make the top 10 after Indy still has a chance to have a top 10 finish at the end of the year. And, for a sport like ours, which is inclusive, okay, if you want to talk about football, and I've had, guys say, oh, well, then what are you going to do? Just tell the Bengals they're in the playoffs because they were 2-14, but they showed up for every game. Well, that's a completely different model. In the NFL, the playoff teams are in the playoffs and everybody else is done. And then you have to continue to win to continue to go on. In our sport, all of the teams continue to race. And I think that it's important for them to have something to race for. I said, nobody's going to come from 11th or 12th and win the championship. It just ain't going to happen. Is it mathematically possible? Sure, but it ain't going to happen. But it does give them an incentive to continue to come out and race and try to finish in the top 10. And I think in a lot of times, in a lot of cases, that is a realistic goal, that even if you're not in the top 10 as of Indy, you can still finish in the top 10 by the end of the season, and I'm okay with that.
But isn't that a participation trophy, the incentivizing, which is the same thing? I've heard Tony Schumacher say it 1,000 times, and I know you're against the concept of it, but it's only the word trophy that you're like, it's an incentivizing. It's like a 5K runner, right? The only one guy wins the 5K run. 1,000 people do it. They all get something. Why? Because they pay to do it. You're being incentivized to participate. So we want to call it a trophy. Is it a plaque? Is it a card? Is it a certificate? Is it some sort of free swag T-shirt? It's all the same thing. It's an incentivization to participate. You're going to put your money in here. You're going to learn. You're going to go through the process. We're going to give you. We're going to make it worth your while through a way. The word trophy is what in our whole world has tripped up everybody. Because only the winner is supposed to get the trophy, right? But really, it's just incentivizing people to participate. That's my point. And that's where I'm coming from.
Okay, and I'm good with that explanation because, the trophy thing I definitely have a problem with. I think, the winner gets the trophy. And everybody shouldn't get a trophy just because you showed up. If everybody gets a T-shirt for showing up, that's great. Everybody come get a T-shirt. And then whoever wins gets the trophy or gets the medal or gets the ribbon or gets the whatever. And again, in this case, I think it's a situation where, going to all of the races should be rewarded, not with a championship trophy, but with at least an opportunity to finish in the top 10. So I actually like your explanation. If you take the word trophy out of the out of the conversation, then I like it much better.
Well, exactly, and that's the thing, and you're not really getting a trophy. Like, the trophy word is what's tripping people up, except you don't get a trophy if you finish 11th and go to all the races and qualify. You just get to go to this next level. We keeping track of your points is basically what it is. You know, your points get reset, but you don't get a trophy for that. You just have to continue to compete. And I think like that buzzword is what's got some people who are not like really thinking about what this is bothered.
One thing that I think, you know, I think there's a plus on one end of it, and I think there's a minus on the other end of it, because going into Pomona now for the finals, there's going to be eyes on who's going to win the championship, obviously, assuming that it hasn't been locked up, you know, like Torrance did a couple of years ago.
Yes.
And there's also going to be eyes on who's going to finish in the top 10, because going into Pomona, we're not going to know for sure which 10 teams are going to be up, you know, which 10 drivers are going to be standing on the stage, which 10 teams are going to be coming to the banquet. So apparently, you know, Carducci's going to have to stay open until Sunday evening at least, because, you know, hey, somebody comes in there and goes a couple of rounds on Sunday and all of a sudden makes its way into the top 10. That's going to change, and that's something else to root for, something else to talk about, something for the fans to keep an eye on. The trade-off for that is, it seems to me, no longer will we be going into Indy with nearly the drama on who's going to be in the playoffs, who's going to be in the countdown to the championship. You know, this past year, there was 3 cars or 4 cars, I think, that were all fighting for it in Top Fuel. There was 3 of them that were going for it in Pro Stock. And going into the next year, we're going to know well beforehand who's in. So I think you're going to lose a little bit of the Indy drama, you know, who's going to race for the championship, who's going to be in the countdown, and I think you're going to gain some of it when we get to Pomona.
Only a Billy Torrance type who did not run all the races and is trying to pull like a miracle, make the top 10 thing will be that story. But in the end, we're going to race. The teams that know what they're doing and are well-funded and go out there and do what it takes to win are going to win. And the teams that are learning and trying to find their footing, they're going to fall back on this to try to make the top 10. You know, I don't know. The negative reaction, as with everything, right, Alan? Like, the negative reaction is overstated and the positive reaction is overstated. We're going to go out there and race, and I don't think, you know, 80% of the fans won't notice as they're watching the race.
No, I don't think anybody will. And, you know, you talk about the teams that are kind of finding their footing and learning their way and doing the stuff. Name me one of those that went to all 18 regular season races last year.
Well, I don't know.
And, you know,
maybe they will now.
That's just it. You know, those teams that are going out to run, you know, 8 races or 10 races or whatever, you know, their budget, their sponsors allow, that are kind of learning their craft, they're not running for the championship anyway. You know, we're grateful to have them. Let me, you know, come to all the races you can. If you can make 12 instead of 10, come on, we'd love to have you. But I don't think there's any team that's out there going to all 18 races that is searching for footing. If you're out there running the full tour, running the full pull, then I think, you know what you're doing. You're either chasing your dream, chasing more financial help, chasing whatever. But, you know, those teams are all professional teams that are out there because it's their vocation, not because it's their hobby for the most part.
Exactly. Well, and we're going to go through it, and anything, there's a ladder, right? Like the part-time team becomes the, you know, full-time team that is barely making the top 10. Then they become the team that can contend for a championship. And that really is the arc of the Torrance family. You know, they started a team and they were okay, and now look at them. They're a juggernaut and getting ready to go for a 3rd consecutive championship, if you can believe that. Good talk. I like it, and we'll see how it all works out. I know some people are just not going to wrap their mind around it, but, you know, could it have been accomplished in other ways? Some have suggested there were other ways to skin this cat. Yeah, maybe, but this is the way that NHRA has chosen to do it, and they did it, and it's done. And so let's look at the Winter Nationals and get ready to go racing. Now, you mentioned like a rapid-fire bunch of news right at the start, right? Like Brittany Force has got Monster back. I thought that was pretty cool. A sponsor coming back into the sport. They've got announcements over there. Joe Barlam and, you know, Dan Hood going to tune John's car, and Joe Barlam coming over there. The announcements dropped right after the show closed last week. They must have been listening.
I think you're right. Yeah, there's you know, there was a lot of stuff that was taking place. There were a lot of things, you know, during the holidays and during the winter break, but it really never starts coming together until the 1st, because for the vast majority of the contracts out there, the things that are happening, it's, the first of the year. So will there be announcements made earlier? Sure, there always are. But, you wait until after your company Christmas party or after you get together, if there's any bonus money involved, any of that kind of stuff, before you start making legitimate moves if you're talking about on the employment side of things. And then I think as far as contracts and sponsors, if you had it all together in September, well, then you announce it in September. But if you didn't have it all together, then I think you wait until everybody's focus is back on business. If you want to make a sponsor announcement the day after Christmas, who's going to notice? If you want to make a sponsor's announcement on New Year's Eve, who's going to notice? But you wait, give it a couple of weeks. We're in January. Everybody back now is in focus mode and getting ready to go racing. That's what we're thinking about. That's what we're talking about. That's the time I think you make the biggest splash. And so that's the time you make your sponsor announcements. And, that's what the John Force team did. They've been doing this pretty well. They've had a heck of a PR machine over there. DSR the same way. They had a couple of little kind of teaser announcements that came out earlier, but there have been a few more things come out here over the course of the last week or so. And with basically everybody back east that is now on the road, either to Phoenix or Vegas for preseason testing, now's the time to get your news out there because everybody's going to start seeing your cars.
So true. So true. We had pro stock testing in Orlando and Bradenton this past week. A lot going on. The eyes of the world on South Florida getting ready for Super Bowl 54. We call it Super Bowl LIV. We got Club LIV down here, and it's a big kind of South Beach, Miami thing. And, I definitely want to talk to you about the game. We're going to speak with Caps later on in the week. He's going to be on the sideline running the microphone again. But yesterday, we were all shocked by tragic news in sports and pop culture with the passing in a tragic helicopter accident of Kobe Bryant, his daughter, and 7 other people. And it's just a horrible story. Came across on the push notification. I know that fame, right? Like everybody knows Kobe because he's famous. And so when something tragic happens, we all feel bad. But there's tragedies that happen all around the world all the time. We just don't know them and know the people. It's kind of one of these things that goes along with fame. But this is one that's got everyone iced, Alan. I wonder what your thought is. But my friends and even people down here people are genuinely sad. You did not have to be a Laker fan. Kobe, a 2-time gold medalist for the United States of America, been in our spotlight for the whole time, and just a horrible tragedy kind of shocked us all.
I agree with exactly what you said. I think, one of the things that makes it such a tragedy for Kobe is, I believe, the fact that he's so young. I mean, he was 41 years old, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Still, he played his professional career. He retired from that, but still basically, his whole life in front of him. You look at all the stuff that like Michael Jordan has done. I think, Kobe got compared to Michael a lot after he left the game, that Mike continued to be, very successful and to make a difference and to give back and do other things. But I also wonder how many people realize the racing connection with the tragedy yesterday. Anybody that's ever been to Pomona and been to one of Del Worsham's championship parties, or, well, basically about anything Del Worsham ever did if they were having a celebration, knows the band that they had that came out to be a part of that. And the gentlemen, the Tijuana Dogs, are good friends of Del's, and they always came out. They were always the live music entertainment if they were having a party. The lead singer of the Tijuana Dogs is a guy named Matt Mauser, and his wife, Christina, was on the helicopter. She was also a coach that worked with Kobe on his daughter's basketball team. They were very close and had a professional relationship as well as a personal relationship. But I think that, brings it, even if you didn't necessarily know Christina, anybody that's ever been to Pomona when Del won a championship or when they were having a party has heard the band. And I think that just, at least for me, that brings it a little closer to home. I'm certainly not Matt's best friend by any means, but, I knew the guys to say hey to and say, and, when you hear, oh, tragedy here, and everybody, oh, yeah, that's a shame. But when you can make a personal connection, I think it makes it even worse. And in this case, the fact that there is at least a peripheral connection to the racing world, I think makes it hit a little bit closer to home, at least for me.
Absolutely. No, I agree, and I get that. There's a personal connection somehow, and it's not that distant, by the way. It's not 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon here. This is like 2 degrees. It's a shame, and one of the elements that I'm sure some people bristle at is there were 9 lives, 9 souls on the helicopter, right? And, 2 of them are getting the lion's share of the attention because the world knew them. But everyone is equally valuable. It's a terrible tragedy, and you think about it, and I think I try to find silver linings, and it's just like motivation, speaking of being incentivized to live every every day to its fullest, live your life to its fullest, tell the ones that you care about them, and you do not know when it is all going to come to an end. However, whoever, whatever, no matter how much money you are, no matter how successful you are, this thing could be over 10 minutes from now. So make this time count. And I think I see a lot of people, trying to live that way.
Well, I think, another part of it, and I didn't think this way 20 years ago, but for those of us that commute to work via the air, when I was 25 years old or 20 years old, somebody, plane crash. Oh, well, that sucks. What's for dinner? But the fact that now I get on airplanes on such a regular basis. And so when one of them goes down, it is a little bit different thing. If I think anybody that drives, when you hear about, a big accident or a big pileup or a big something, I think that, everybody kind of goes, man, that, you realize that could happen to me because I do drive on the highway. I do drive on the roads. I do, this is something that could legitimately happen. And I think anybody that flies on a regular basis, when something like this happens, I don't know how you don't think about, I flew on, 114 airplanes last year, I think. And so when I hear about one going down, it's like, wow, that's something that's a world that I live in where, and the effect is not often do you hear, plane goes down and everybody walked away. So I think that, anytime something like that happens, I think everybody that flies to work or flies on a regular basis can't help but think, that's a world that I live in. This is something that could happen in a world that is a very big part of my life.
No, I agree, and I had that thought. I know it's a little different, private, helicopter, et cetera, but not really. We're talking about gravity here. And, we all, you get on the bus, right? And the bus goes, and the bus is supposed to get there. And sometimes it doesn't. Very sad, very sad. But, like I always say, we have tragedies and we have passings of old age on the show, and we try to, do, what we would want, which is to carry on and have fun and enjoy our lives as best as we can. So I do want to ask you about your Super Bowl prediction, but let's do a rapid fire of the news that has come out. Like, for instance, you referenced, pro stockers, multiple new drivers, and different stories like Kid Chaos, Kyle Koretsky, the captain's kid, is going to come racing. I think Kenny broke that story last year, maybe in Reading. Maybe it was at the finals. And here it is. It is now going to happen in a KB racing car. Also, Matt Hartford going to run KB Racing Power this year. So a little bit of a shuffle up with some of the teams, some of the drivers in the factory hot rods.
Okay, well, I want you to know that I mean this with the absolute most possible respect that you could read into this.
I'm ready. Yes.
Who cares about the whole Hartford thing? But no, you know what?
Wait a second. No, listen, hold on.
Good on him. I wish him. He's an Arizona guy. He's a good. But we have Kid Chaos now, right?
Yes.
Okay. Chris McGahe's kid is going to race.
Yes.
He needs a nickname.
Mason.
Greg Stanfield's kid ran a couple of races last year, but I believe he's going to be out there full time. Needs a nickname.
Yes.
So come on, WFO universe. If we're going to have 3 second-generation pro stock racers out there full time, they all need nicknames. It can't be, well, here's Kid Chaos and here's 2 other kids. They all need nicknames. So, when they come up against each other, it can be, kid something against kid somebody or, whatever.
Well, let's see. Mason McGahey, I've got a nickname for him already, but I can't share it because when we were in Sonoma, I was heel-toeing up that giant hill to the golf cart compound, and he just drove by me and didn't offer me a ride. So I already got a nickname that I shared. And he's looking at me. He sees me struggling in the altitude to get up there, and he just waves later. But I already got him back for that. But, Double M maybe, and Aron Stanfield is going to be very interesting. I agree. WFO Universe, it is time to create some nicknames, and we'll start using them if they're any good. But I do want to double back on the Hartford thing, though, Alan. It affects me. It affects my life, this change from Elite to KB.
Is that because you're not going to be allowed to look at the motors anymore?
Exactly. The chances of me touching stuff has gone down dramatically.
You can touch the rest of the car. I don't see you changing valve springs. I'm just not seeing it.
No, I know. So I do have some skin in the game, but we'll see. We'll talk to Jason about it.
Well, there you go. Maybe that's it. Maybe Matt's going over there to get his feet wet because in 2021, Matt then is going to sell Total Seal, and he will become the new Jason.
Wow, that's a great rumor you just started. I love that. He's of course, Hartford only went over there because, he's going to be Jason's replacement the next year. That works. Yeah. That works.
Okay.
All right. So Pro Stock, a lot of maneuvering going on over there. Elite's got a new driver as well. They've got a couple, Marty Robertson. And I don't know if he's going to run all the races. He's going to run some races, and he's going to run the tune-up down there in Orlando. But we're seeing the change that we wanted in Pro Stock. People are taking on the challenge. They got some money. They realize we're not going to build an engine shop and beat these guys at building engines. We're going to do it a different way and just go to the people who know what they're doing and go see if we can be a Pro Stock racer. I'm okay with it. I like it.
Yeah, and the thing is now that we've talked about this for months is right now you can lease race winning power. Right now you can lease championship contending and championship winning power. So it's not that we're not going to build an engine shop. It's we don't have to build an engine shop. We can go racing and be competitive and have a chance to race for wins and race for the championship. And we don't have to basically start an entire new business to do so. We can just go racing because you can lease the power that'll get you where you need to be. And that's up until this era of Pro Stock, that's never been possible.
And the news is going to continue to come out. It's going to be rapid fire. Is there anything that we have yet to discuss that you want to throw out there on the table? And, once testing starts, everything is going to become shuffled and changed, and new information will be rapid fire right up until the first pair in qualifying at the 60th Lucas Oil Winter Nationals. Is there anything that you've seen or been up on that you want to share with the WFO universe?
Other than, having Alexis back, she was down here making some runs, and she and her team will be up in Las Vegas also, knocking off whatever rust might still be there before she gets ready to go. I think one other thing, and I don't know exactly how many or how often, but I think you're going to see a whole lot more of Bob Vandergriff this year. It's my understanding that Sean Reed is going to be racing in Pomona and Phoenix. So there'll be a Bob Vandergriff presence at both of those races. And then obviously Jordan will be back in the car when we get to Gainesville. I don't know that they're going to make all 24, but I think Bob Vandergriff is going to have one car at more races this year than he did last year.
Well, that would be great.
And that's good.
Yeah. Well, I think both of those guys. And the thing that I think we all love about this sport is it touches so many different demographics, right? Like, young guys, old guys, medium guys in terms of age. And, why shouldn't Sean Reed get an opportunity to go out and pursue his competitive dream just the same as Jordan Vandergriff, who is, just a totally different demographic, and they're out there doing their own thing. And Bob's got a couple of opportunities for him. I think it is great. And I definitely want to see Jordan out there on a regular basis so he and Austin can continue to battle, because when they're at the race together, it just adds an element of the the young guns going up against each other. All right, Super Bowl LIV coming to the MIA Sunday, the final Sunday of football season, which then gives way to our season, which is a nice thing. We've got the Niners and the Chiefs. I think it's the first time there have been two red teams in the Super Bowl. I saw that somewhere. Mahomes The Lightning strike, big power offense. They were down by 24 in the first quarter of a game. They won it by 20 points, scored 50. The Niners is like a steamroller team that can crush you. What is your breakdown of the game? And we would like a pick.
I'm going with the Niners. I think that the old story about defense wins championships, and the Niners have got a better defense. I think that Mahomes is an incredible talent, but I don't think that you could beat the Niners just by throwing the ball. I think that Green Bay tried that; it didn't work. I think Seattle tried that; it didn't work. And I think the quick strike. If Mahomes comes out and he can go down the field in 4 plays and score. That's great. Then San Francisco is going to get the ball, and they're going to take 8 minutes to go down the field and score.
Yeah.
And if Mahomes misses once, he's going to give up 8 minutes again. And Mahomes misses, and I just think that in this case that the methodical steamroller is going to cover it. So I'm taking San Francisco by 10.
Wow. Okay. A 10-point win, and the Niners get another Super Bowl, and Ron Capps is happy on the sidelines with his parabolic mic. That works for me.
There you go.
And okay, what are the odds? Prop bet. Okay. Odds. You just give me your odds on this happening. That Mark Rubilis has the cover page of USA Today Sports or USA Today on Monday morning.
Even money.
Right. Even money. It's 50-50. The guy is amazing. He knows where to be. He is a charmed photographer. Well, there it is. Alan, great job. Thank you very much. Wonderful conversation. I am looking forward to it. And as we said earlier, I appreciate you and the effort that you put in to coming on the show and tell people about the show and the WFO universe and this whole thing that we've created, sub NHRA, which is a larger universe that we are both in. But thank you for all you do.
Who is your Super Bowl pick, Mr. I'm going to put you on the spot and then hopefully sneak out of the deal without having
notice that. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm going to be rooting for the Chiefs. I'm an AFC guy, and I want to root for the AFC, and I've got a whole host of different bizarre reasoning to root against the Niners, one of which is they kicked our butts in the Super Bowl when I was a child and probably made me cry if I really think about it going way back then. Joe Montana beat Dan Marino. I've got a lot of personal stories that I can't share about that. But that's number one. Number two, Andy Reid, coach of the Chiefs, who used to be the coach of the Eagles. I always liked him. And a couple of years ago, we had an opportunity to have him be the Dolphins head coach, and we did not make a move to go get him. Instead, he went to the Chiefs. And I always I like his style. And so I'm going to be rooting personally for the Chiefs. Your analysis, though, about defense and offense, and that's what happened to the Dolphins against the Niners in that Montana versus Marino Super Bowl. You have to have a balanced team. And even though you can score really quick, your defense is going to get tired when they're out there being ground into the ground, and eventually you will lose. So I wouldn't be surprised if your pick came in, but I will be with the Chiefs, cheering for them as best as a Miami Dolphin fan can. And we met Christian Okoye this year. There's another reason.
Wow, that was about as waffling a thing as I've ever heard.
And then maybe...
It's kind of like, when I would tell Josh Peterson a half a dozen times throughout the course of the year, he's the vice president of NHRA in charge of competition, and he'd say, okay, here's what we're going to do. And I'd tell him, Josh, I'm pulling for you. I'm not betting on you, but I'm pulling for you.
Well, exactly. Yeah, but ultimately, like, I'm a Miami Dolphin fan, and this is not my lot to root for some team in the Super Bowl. This is not something I can relate to over the past 20 years. I just got to worry about the party, and I went to the NFL Experience the other day, had a great time, threw a football through a tire, and I ran the obstacle course, and I did the combine slowly, but I had fun, and it was a good time. So that's, like you say, hope for a good game. That's where I'm at.
I'll tell you one other thing, and I don't think that, he will be the MVP, but I think that he will be a determining factor in the game. Is Richard Sherman.
Okay.
If he takes one side of the field basically out of play, then I think that is going to hurt Kansas City a lot. If he gets a couple interceptions, obviously that'll hurt. But if he can just take one side or one quadrant of the field out of play, because it has been shown over the course of the last, 8 years, 10 years, it's not a good game strategy to throw the ball in Richard Sherman's neighborhood 15 times a game. And so I think that's going to be a determining factor. I think if Mahomes can find a way to neutralize Richard Sherman, then I think that will give the Chiefs that'll give them quite a boost.
I agree. The over-under is 54.5. So you're going under?
Yes.
Yeah. That sounds like the game you described. Going to be very, very interesting, a lot of fun. And then when it's all over, we're going to be focused on the National Hot Rod Association 2020 season. I'm looking forward to it. Alan, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
All right, Joe. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you, Alan. There he goes, the voice of the NHRA. Alan Reinhart joins us each week right here at the start of WFO Radio. And if you are a first-time listener, you should click subscribe, whether it be Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Stitcher or TuneIn, wherever you listen to WFO Radio. Click subscribe and never miss a show. For my money, the WFO Radio mobile application for iPhone or Android, great stuff. And 2, SoundCloud. Great places to listen. They got their own app, SoundCloud does, and that's their business, and it's really good stuff. But the WFO Radio app is still very good as well. Big thanks to our sponsors, the people who make it all possible. We got a great group of guests coming on this week. Ron Capps, really going to be talking Super Bowl and the Niners and getting ready to test. JR from testing, Chad Head, Vic Penrod, all going to be on the show. We got all the champions in the archive. The Ignition Show going to be a lot of fun because it's going to be, the Super Bowl is in our city. How could that not be a whole lot of fun? So click subscribe, check it out. All kinds of audio content rolling out of WFO Radio. Hopefully you check out as much as you can, right? RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com, making it possible. 817-924-6821. Thank you, Marvin. MagicDryUS.com, the official organic absorbent of the NHRA. Total Seal, the leader in ring seal technology. Don't forget Hidden Horsepower by Total Seal. There's an episode up there with Ben Strader from EFI University and Keith Jones going deep on an 11,000 RPM LS engine. Really interesting stuff. TotalSeal.com. Samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Start your education at full speed. All you kids out there, I'm telling you, you need an education. You need an education that helps you in the field that you want to be in, even if it's racing. Even if it's racing in machine. Samtech.edu. And Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. The dragster adventure, but licensing courses. If you want to drive an alcohol funny car, they can make it happen. I always talk to the listener that's just going to go on the dragster adventure, but maybe you went on the dragster adventure and maybe you've been, reasonably successful. It's not over the moon. And you want to learn how to drive an alcohol funny car, you can do that at Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. Thank you to the sponsors, of course, Drag Racing Edge Magazine and EV3 Drag Racing and everybody that helps us out. And hey, remember, you want some free stickers? Send me a self-addressed stamped envelope to Castello Media /WFO stickers, P.O. Box 848-353, Pembroke Pines, Florida 33084. Yes, and just keep your eye on your mobile device because new episodes get ready to drop. And oh yes, one more thing, Patreon.com/WFO Radio. Those people they're getting regular, unique, and fresh content on a regular basis, early release of our interviews and other added benefits. How about that for you want to support directly? All right, everybody, we'll see you later in the week. WFO.
WFO! The views and opinions of the hosts, guests, or callers do not necessarily reflect that of the station ownership, advertisers, or agencies.
I love WFO Radio.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, engine builders, Total Seal piston rings are the leader in ring seal technology, and they go out of their way to help their customers and will make custom sets for any specific piston you might have. Customer service, top notch. Made in America? Absolutely. They're located in Phoenix, Arizona, and they've got everything it takes to develop the world's best piston rings. Give them a call at 800-874-2753 or go to TotalSeal.com. Attention adrenaline junkies, Frank Hawley's Dragster Adventure is calling you. Rides available for the 2020 season. Go to frankhawley.com. They're coming to a track near you. It makes a great gift, and you know the holidays are coming, whether it be licensing for Super Comp, Super Gas, all the way up to Top Alcohol, they can do it. But if you're a drag racing fan and you've always imagined what it might be like to drive a dragster, to accelerate 0 to 60 in 3 seconds and run 10s in the quarter mile, give them a call. 866-480-7223, frankhawley.com, the Dragster Adventure, and tell them you heard it on WFO.
Start your education at full speed with the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Accelerate your career as a high-performance engine builder with classroom instruction and practical hands-on experience in the lab, on the dyno, and at the track. In addition to the block, head, and CNC programs, SAM now offers motorsport, EFI tuning, and an Associates of Applied Science degree. And SAM is a military-friendly school, approved to train veterans and other eligible persons under the GI Bill. Start your education at full speed. Go to samtech.edu today.
You're working in the shop, you've got spills, you've spilled oil, it's everywhere. What are you going to do? I know what you're going to do, but that's not the best way to do it. The best way to do it is to go to magicdryus.com and order the official organic absorbent of the National Hot Rod Association, Magic Dry. It's lighter, it absorbs more, it's better for the environment. It's made out of coconut. It's made in America. magicdryus.com. They've got spill kits that include everything you need for a regular, normal household spill, all the way up to a large industrial spill. We always say, if you've got a cat, get Cat Spot. If you've got a shop, if you've got a factory, if you've got a spill, call Magic Dry. That's magicdryus.com. Hey everybody, how do you start your day? You started off with a little coffee. And do you want something cheap and vacuum-packed with garbage? You want to pay for a retail coffee, it's like $11? Or do you want something that is good, like RoadAxeCoffeeandGrills.com? Join the Roadax Army. WFO users and listeners know all about it. Over 40 grades to choose from. This is roasted fresh per your order, not to mention hot sauce, spice rub. You got to call Marvin, get on the phone line, or go to the website, RoadaxeCoffeeandGrills.com. Check it out. That's RoadaxeCoffeeandGrills.com.
Hey, this is Kathy Fisher. Join Joe Costello and myself every Sunday morning on Motor Trend for Performance TV, 8:30 a.m. Eastern. We'll see you then.
This is WFO